Hey guys, Aaron Kubas, personal trainer at Functional Aesthetics CC. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you a few different exercises you can do to keep your shoulders healthy and balanced. As I've talked about in other videos, this is something that is near and dear to me due to the fact that I've injured my shoulders a couple of times. And that is actually quite common with people who play sports, athletics, and especially as you age. But what was surprising to me is that even people who don't do a lot of heavy lifting or athletics or anything like that, and they actually just have a sedentary job working at a desk all day, they actually are predisposed for getting rotator cuff injuries as well. And the reason for that is because the shoulder joint is a very mobile joint, more mobile than any other joint in the body. But that means that what it gains mobility, it sacrifices in stability. So essentially, that joint is maintained by the balance between all the different muscles that pull on it from different directions. So if one muscle group becomes too strong as opposed to the other muscle group that opposes it, it's going to pull the head of the humerus forward in the glenoid socket or backwards or whatever direction that muscle is, but usually it's forward because it's the chest muscles and the lats and stuff and the biceps that are overcompensating for the posterior muscle groups. So it's going to pull it out of alignment, and then what starts happening, the ligaments and the tendons that attach to that bone there from the various different muscles are going to start rubbing on the bones that support and house that joint. And we all know what happens when you have a rope hanging over the side of a cliff. Well, over time, that rope is going to fray, and then it's going to snap and get problems like that. So in this video, I'm going to show you some exercises you can do to hopefully prevent having that problem in the future so that you can stay active and healthy for as long as possible, and even possibly improve and get stronger simply by having more balanced joints. All right, let's get into the video.
So one thing that is often overlooked, but it's really actually pretty simple, basic, easy thing to do, is to just simply hanging from a pull-up bar. Just hanging for, a minute or so every day is going to help to improve the strength of that shoulder capsule, help to stretch out the muscles and the ligaments surrounding that area to help provide more mobility in the joint as well. So really easy thing you can do. Also, doing shoulder shrugs while you're hanging from the pull-up bar can be helpful as well. Exercises such as these prone shoulder circles here can be great for building coordination and strength in the smaller rotator cuff muscles, stabilizing, as well as the upper back muscles that help to stabilize the posterior shoulder girdle. This can help to compensate for the often overly developed anterior muscles, such as the shoulders and the chest, which get used a lot when people go to the gym and they're bench pressing and shoulder pressing. When you're doing biceps curls, those muscles will also contribute to internal rotation and poor shoulder health. For these lateral raises, you might notice that I'm actually turning my thumbs up or completely externally rotating my shoulders, as well as performing full circumduction at the top of the range of motion. The reason for this is that although you can overload the exercise a little bit more if you do it in the traditional fashion, by externally rotating, you're actually performing and allowing that joint to do its full range of motion and perform in a little bit more natural fashion than simply just going out to the side. Most of the time in real life, you're actually going to be having a full rotation at some point, such as when you're swinging a tennis racket, baseball bat, things like that. Okay, this next exercise here, you can see as I'm going from horizontal abduction into and out of it. It's, again, primarily a anterior deltoid exercise, but because of the different range of motion, typically when you're working your front delts, you're doing stuff all in the sagittal plane or from front to back. Like when you're doing your pressing exercises, bench presses, shoulder presses, front delt raises, things like that. So this just gives it a little bit different area and allows the stabilizer muscles, even the supraspinatus in the posterior shoulder girdle, to help stabilize that shoulder a little bit more. And this exercise right here, I was actually introduced to it when I was rehabbing my shoulder from a labrum tear. So it's similar to a scarecrow exercise, but has the added benefit of being a little bit more fluid, a little bit less restricted range of motion, less of an isolation, and more of an integrative exercise, utilizing a more full range of motion and more normal movement pattern, I guess more functional, as you would call it. So this exercise right here is essentially a Cuban press, but combined with like a 90-degree lateral raise. So just a slight variation there. Normally you'd bring the dumbbell straight up and do like an upright row and then do the Cuban press. But to hit the side delts a little bit more, I decided to do the 90-degree deltoid row. Now, obviously, the primary focus of this exercise is the side delts and the supraspinatus in the rotator cuff, although you're also going to get, obviously, that front delt activation as well. It's more of an endurance exercise for the front delts. If you want to really overload them and are seeking more growth and strength, obviously, you'd want to be doing just straight shoulder presses with a barbell or something like that. And of course right here we have the classic scaption exercise that most therapists will have you do for rotator cuff rehab, any sort of shoulder injury rehabs in the latter stages. Just helps to develop that proper scapulohumeral rhythm, basically the coordination between the upper arm bone and the shoulder blades in normal shoulder movements. And it's important for healthy shoulder joint. So you're going to be working like the serratus, the anterior delts, a little bit of the middle delts, and then also the supraspinatus as well. And here we have another classic exercise. This is actually a back exercise as well. So primarily you're going to be hitting your rear deltoids, and the main focus of this exercise is the rhomboids in the so those large muscles right between your shoulder blades. They help to squeeze the shoulder blades together. So obviously that's going to help you fix having internally rotated arms, which can happen from doing too many pushing exercises such as push-ups, bench presses, and even pull-ups, lat pull-downs, and curling exercises, just because of how the biceps and the lats also assist a little bit in internal rotation. This exercise right here, I'm not sure if it's an actual exercise. I call it a W raise. I feel like it allows me to actually engage my rhomboids a little bit more. And obviously there's going to be a little bit less deltoid engagement just because of the shorter lever arm. Most of that deltoid engagement you get just because the weights are out further from your body. So therefore, there's going to be more force development there, but might be even possibly a little bit of external rotation available at the top of the motion, so some supraspinatus activation, but again primarily just a different way, a creative way to do a reverse fly. So scapular push-ups, as is being shown here in this video, are a great way to increase shoulder stability, particularly because it works the serratus anterior, which helps to keep the shoulder blades from winging out from the rib cage, so that you can also maintain that normal scapulohumeral rhythm that I talked about previously. The downward dog exercise that I showed at the very end of this video is actually also helpful for increasing thoracic mobility or mobility in your upper back, which also allow all of your posterior muscles, external rotators, scapular retractors, and depressors to work properly once the spine is in a more proper position. So here I'm showing just a different variation of the W raise that I showed earlier. Again, primarily rhomboids, a little bit of the rear deltoids, and the teres minor muscles in the posterior shoulder capsule. Just a different way to do the W raise if you have access to a resistance band, but pretty much doing the same thing as the one with the dumbbells that I showed earlier. Okay, so this exercise here you have undoubtedly seen people do in the gym. Primary purpose of this is to work the external rotator of the shoulder, being the teres minor and the infraspinatus muscles a little bit. Now, adding a little bit of punch out there just increases that level of stability just because of the longer lever arm. It's also more of an isometric rather than a concentric exercise as when you're doing strict external rotation. So this exercise right here is basically just a scarecrow exercise coupled with a Y raise. It's probably one of my favorite exercises just because it hits all the primary muscles involved in improving your posture. So probably more important than the rotator cuff muscles is the lower trapezius muscle to help you straighten out your upper back, and that'll actually play a bigger role in keeping your shoulders healthy than doing all these rotator cuff exercises and shoulder exercises that I've been showing you.
Okay guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope you found some useful tips and tricks that you can use in your own training. Typically do these exercises after you do the main compound movements, so when you're doing your deadlifts, squats, and rows and stuff like that. Personally, I like to do these type of exercises when I'm doing my like chest and shoulder type workouts, because it's a good finisher after you've been doing all your pressing and whatnot to help balance out the rotator cuff muscles. But do whatever works for you. You can even do it on separate days at home, since you don't require a lot of equipment to do most of these exercises. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel out. If you'd like to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel by hitting that button right down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And we'll see you all next time for more health and fitness related information. Thanks guys for watching.